Hello brothers and sisters, welcome to today's episode on Dangerous African Confessions HD. In this episode, we have a story from our sister called Ruth. Ruth says, she is from Tanzania, but currently living in Ghana. And in this captivating story, Ruth shares with us her life as an escort. She tells us how the life of being an escort is, and the dangers they face as an escort. She tells us about an encounter she had with a man who nearly used her for sacrifice. This man that she is talking about, she actually traveled with him to Dubai. And when they had returned back to Ghana, the man called her to come and make another trip.
I asked him why they were there. He told me, they are part of the deal that we had. Right there I knew, they wanted to have their way with me. Honestly, I have never experienced anything like that. They did me in turns. All my holes were penetrated. I was in so much pain, but I couldn't stop them. They will never stop even when I was begging them and screaming. They were laughing on top of it, whilst I was screaming and begging. They were passing me round to each other like I was nothing. At dawn, they came in and the man who invited me, dragged me to the washroom. And they started using me as human water closet. The things they did to me that night, I cannot say it all here. After they were finished with their fantasies on me, the man gave me a pill and forced me to swallow it. Mercy had already told me to be very careful when any man I go to gives me pill or something like that to swallow.
That was where she nearly lost her life to being used for sacrifice. As our policy, I have edited certain things to suit the sender. So, without wasting much of your time, let's go and listen to the story.
Hello, my name is Ruth, and I would like you to share my life experience with your audience. What I am about to tell you might upset other ladies. But then, if you're a lady, there is no point of becoming an escort. We take for granted everything all in the name of finding money. And so, we engage in all these kinds of lifestyle that will later cause us severely. I have always been a good student when I was in school. And as girls, we were always talking about how we were going to live life to the fullest when we go out of the school and started our business or started work. Each of my friends had what they wanted to become in the future. I honestly wanted to become a banker. I loved math more than any other subject. I had a friend when we were in school, who was called Mercy. She wasn't good when it came to academics. But Mercy was a very beautiful young lady. In fact, among our friends, she was the prettiest. We lost contact when after we had finished school. Everyone was out there trying to make it or survive. I one day went to a party with a friend. This friend was the one who knew the woman whose children are celebrating her birthday for her. And my friend was invited by someone that she knows. She then told me to accompany her. That weekend, I didn't have anything doing, so I agreed and we went to the party. This birthday party was really expensive, judging from how things were when we got there. Along the line, I spotted a lady who really looked familiar from afar. I approached this lady to find out if I know her. And to my surprise, it was my friend Mercy, the one from school. This time, she was even looking prettier and more appeared expensive. This was Mercy that when she comes to school, we all will have to buy food together in order to have it plenty so she can eat some. Even though Mercy back in school was beautiful, her beauty was on another level. We got along and she introduced me to her friends who were around. They all seemed to have something good going on for them. At this time, it was 3 years after I completed the university and I had no reasonable job doing. So, life was not all good for me, in terms of my finances. When the party was over, Mercy offered to drop us back home. We went to the program in a taxi, so we delightedly entered and she took us home. When we got home, she told me that she misses me and wanted us to go out. So, my friend said, she wanted to go and rest. I was so happy to have met my friend Mercy again. So, I went with her. On our way, she said we were no longer going to where she wanted us to go. She changed our direction, and said that we should go to her house instead. When we got to the place she was living, I was shocked. She lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. A very well-painted and decorated apartment. The furniture in the living room alone looked very much expensive. I was totally in shock. When I asked her about everything, she told me that it was nothing. She again said that I could also get it if I wanted to. She brought out some wine and we cashed up the lost times. We discussed what we were both up to. She was a businesswoman who owned multiple shops in town. When I told her that I have not gotten my breakthrough after the university, she told me that she was going to help me. During our conversations, she kept on making repetition of a phrase that, you should use what you have to get what you want. I used to go to her shop whenever she was around. And when I am returning home, she would dash me some money. One day, she called me to come over to her house. When I got there, she told me that she sees me as a sister. And she didn't want the fact that she gives me money. She told me she wanted to reveal how she made her money to me. So that I can also make something for myself, and not rely on anyone. I was so happy to hear her say that. When I asked what it was, she said that it was a process, and that she would take me through that process gradually. Until I become master of the game. She later called me and told me about a friend of his showing interest in me. She told me that the guy saw my picture on her phone and expressed his interest in me. At this time, I was not in any relationship. Since my boyfriend cheated with another lady. She told me, the guy has money, and he can help me get some money to start something on my own. It sounded good, so I gave it a go ahead. This guy pampered and took care of me. It was a nice experience. Mercy will always give me advice as to what to do. But then the relationship didn't last. She was giving me advice on how to handle men in order to get them to spend much money on me. She even gave me more matured men and sugar daddies. This gave me enough money to rent my own 1-bedroom apartment and furnished it. I was with Mercy one evening when she asked if I wanted to travel outside the country to have fun and make money on top of it. This sounded so good. Since I have had a taste of money, I wanted more of it. We went and did my passport. When it was ready, she told me that I should get ready to explore the world. She made me understand that what we were doing was just making friends and partners that were ready to take care of us and whilst we have fun. My travel started with me going to Nigeria. How long I was with them sometimes depends on their trip schedule and also how much they are willing to pay. I was spending like a month to about 3 months with those who were paying huge sums. The monies they were paying were huge. But these men see them as some chicken feed. Most of the men that we were going out with or traveling with were elderly men. Some as old as our fathers and all that. But it didn't matter. All that matters was the money you were willing to pay. As long as the money is in, we didn't consider the age. My encounter happened when Mercy called that there were 2 men that needed our services. So, she wanted me and had to go. She didn't want to give this deal to the other girls. These men were taking us to Dubai. She said she wanted me to experience Dubai. We went and we did our thing, to the best of our ability. When we returned, in about 3 months later, the man called me again to come over to his place and keep him company. During my time with him, I noticed some weird things in his house. He was different from the man I first saw. He was unnaturally quiet. This was not the person I was with during our time in Dubai. During my time there, I saw that there are some 2 particular men that were constantly coming into the house. And they will wear only singlet and wrapped around their waist. When they come into his house, they will go straight into one particular room and the man I went to will also dress same and enter the room. I overheard them in one of their usual things, when they have finished with whatever they were doing in the room and were about leaving. I was also coming inside the house from the compound, when I heard one of them asked him who I was. He told them that my reason for being there is to serve two purposes. I heard them laugh after he said that. This time, I sensed all was not right for me to be there. This time, I had spent about a week in his house. The idea was for me to spend 2 weeks there. The next day, I was in the room when the man came and we started making out. Along the line in the process, these two other friends also came into the room and started going naked. I asked him why they were there. He told me, they are part of the deal that we had. Right there I knew, they wanted to have their way with me. Honestly, I have never experienced anything like that. They did me in turns. All my holes were penetrated. I was in so much pain, but I couldn't stop them. They will never stop even when I was begging them and screaming. They were laughing on top of it, whilst I was screaming and begging. They were passing me round to each other like I was nothing. At dawn, they came in and the man who invited me, dragged me to the washroom. And they started using me as human water closet. The things they did to me that night, I cannot say it all here. After they were finished with their fantasies on me, the man gave me a pill and forced me to swallow it. Mercy had already told me to be very careful when any man I go to gives me pill or something like that to swallow. So, when I took the thing in my mouth, I pushed it with my tongues into the back of my teeth. And took the water they gave me. They thought I had swallowed the pill. So, when they were about leaving the room, one of them said that they should do well and finish with the sacrifice, so they can have their freedom. I knew at this time that I was so close to meet my death. I needed to make plans and leave. And anytime I visit any man for these kinds of services, I try to be close to the houseboy or the gateman if there is one. They had gone out with their usual dressing and I was left with the gateman alone in the house. I believe they were thinking I was going to pass out or be dizzy after taking the pill. So, they were giving it time to walk or something. I came out to the gateman and asked him to come to my room to help me out with something. I told him to close the gate and lock it so no one can enter whilst he attends to what I wanted him to do. He locked the gate and we went into the room I was in. I asked him clean the washroom for me, but before then, he should give me the keys to try my lock and see if it can open it. He, not knowing my plan, gave me the key and as soon as he entered the washroom, I locked him in there and rushed out of the room. I rushed to the gate and opened the gate. I ran as far as my legs can carry me. I stopped the car and rushed into it without telling the driver where I was going. This was how I escaped from being used for sacrifice. By now, I would have been out of this world. I told Mercy about it and told him I can't continue with that kind of lifestyle. Anytime I remember what I went through in that house, I can only imagine the number of girls that have lost their lives through these means. I wanted to share my story for my fellow ladies out there to be more careful with this kind of lifestyle. It is not worth it if you gain everything and lose your life in the course of it. Please let us be careful. Thank you, brother.
Please kindly subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload. These are not just stories for story's sake. They are meant for us not to make these mistakes our brothers and sisters are making. That's why we share these stories with you. As a lady, it's good to live good and have all these expensive dress and perfumes. I will tell you, it feels good if you have it all to yourself. But in doing so, and trying to make his money, my sisters, let's be vigilant a little. Let us weigh and analyze the kind of things we do with our body and our life. Life, they say, is not true that we will have to experiment with one. I hope we've all learned something from the story. As I always say, we are not here to race with ourselves. Therefore, do the little you can and ask your Creator to bless your handwork. Please let's be mindful of the choices that we make. Thanks for being a part of this growing family. If you have a story or a confession that you want to share with us, please contact our admin on the email address on the screen. Kindly share your thought with us in the comment section below. And if you are new here, please subscribe, like and share. Stay blessed and be safe.